All right, it's your boy Sector Medi here. I'm a mixing and mastering engineer, also an artist. Today, I want us to quickly glance through the vocal chain for Yaw Tog, or more or less how I process Yaw Tog's vocal for Straight Shot Hennessy. So, I want to give a lot of recording and production credits to Coco. He was the one who actually recorded this project for Yaw, and I was only sent this project to further on mix and master the song. So probably like 60% of this mix was pretty much done by Coco. The only thing that I'm adding up to this mix is just enhancing a little bit of the effect and then remixing the lead vocal. That was the main priority because Yao trust me on his vocals. So he told me to just remix the vocal to suit his consistent tone. Yeah. So let's just solo the beat and the vocal to hear how it feels like overall. So this is the beats. All these little things were done by Coco, by the way.
Hellfire burn deep, where my China at the sea. I just wanna leave, I'm Olympic rim, see my dream. When the label on my soul, Kenya me prodigy, and I cannot give it up. I've been facing my demons, me tennis swore. Say they see fire, man, I'm a tennis swore.
So yeah, starting off with the lead vocal. These are my effects. The first thing that I'm adding is I'm adding NS1 to kind of cure some of the bleeding, the room noise, the AC, fridges, fans, anything that is like ambience. The next effect is an EQ. So Q4 is my favorite EQ plugin. And what I'm basically doing here is I'm rolling off anything below 133 Hz. I'm doing a very, very deep cut, not like necessarily deep, but a very wide cut of about 2 decibels, around 198, so roughly 200-ish, and crossing over to like 1K-ish. And then I'm using a dynamic EQ to cut out frequencies around 5.3K and then 8.5K. So around minus, what's the dynamic cut? Minus 5 each, I'm sure, yeah. So this is more like my traditional or my basic DSR, like the first approach to de-essing the vocal. Yeah, so de-essing the vocal around this range and then rolling off some of the muddiness. See my dream when the label on my soul, I'm not the type of person who normally likes to call the vocal muddy because muddy is like a perception. I like to call it low mids, bass, high mids, and then highs. Yeah, so I'm basically ruling out a lot of the low mids to high mids. Yeah. And I cannot give it all. My award, I won't be free. I've been facing my demons, me tennis swore. So they see fire. And to tell you what, I don't know if it is an intentional tone or it was actually achieved by accident, or probably like there was this setting that really cranked up the preamp from the interface they were using to record, or whatever preamp they recorded the vocal through. I really love the tone already, so good job over there, Mr. Coco and Yao. Yeah. Now next is my auto tune, and my normal settings are 0, 1 to 10 on transition, not corrected. I don't like to correct the format using this plugin. If it was the traditional auto tune from Antas, I was going to turn on the formats, but for this one, I really don't like the formats on it. So yeah. I just want to roll you shining. The last effect on the mono vocal bass or the mono vocal track is a compressor. So what is basically happening is anything that is exceeding minus 15 decibels, I'm really rolling it off by ratio 2 to 4 type compression, and then attack roughly 2, and then the release is around like 19%. Yeah, so pretty medium to fast release, medium to fast attack, and then no auto gain, just pure or genuine clean reduction on the peaks basically. Hellfire burn deep, where my China at the sea. I just wanna leave, I'm Olympic rim, see my dream. When the label on my soul, and Kenya me prodigy, and I cannot give it all. My award, I won't be free. I've been facing my demons, me tennis swore. Now this is routed to YT, which is like the subgroup for Yaw Tog's vocal. So yeah, YT, and this subgroup was created by Coco. So big ups Coco once more. but I had to edit it a little bit with my own type of effects. So the first thing that I'm adding is a deplosive plugin, and what this is basically doing is it is going to act as something that is killing the sounds. So I'm using this deplosive plugin to cater for that.
Hellfire burn within, when my China the sea. I just wanna leave, I'm Olympic rim, see my dream. When the label on my soul, Kenya me project.
Let me turn off the beat and then we can re-listen. So without the effect,
man, the label on my soul, Kenya me project.
So you can hear the prodigy, so but when you turn it on,
man, the label on my soul, Kenya me project. And I cannot get
it definitely feels better. So yeah.
Hellfire burn within, when my China the sea. I just wanna leave, I'm Olympic rim, see my dream. When the label on my soul.
Next is my second or my first basic EQ, and then what I'm doing is doing more surgical stuff this time around. I'm not like trying to do wide cuts and all of that. I'm just doing surgical stuff. So more low frequency or low region catering for. So anything that is like booming in his vocal, I'm trying to cut it off. Anything that is annoying in his, I think this is around the nasal tone, I'm trying to cut it off. And anything that is too bright, like the whistle sounds in his vocal, I'm trying to cut all of them off. And then I'm doing a gentle roll off around from 200 to like 300 just to create all these things are basically creating space for all these other regions to shine properly.
Hellfire burn within, when my China the sea. I just wanna leave, I'm Olympic rim, see my dream. When the label on my soul, Kenya me project. And I cannot give it all, I hear what I want be free.
And once again, I'm loading a DSR to kill for the This DSR is basically killing the more than this. So anything that is yeah, I'm catering for that too. I have a virtual mix rack, and this is the main plugin that shapes my tone a little bit. So we are going to start afresh. That's a lot of processing, by the way, but yeah, we'll go through it one by one. So I'm adding my own type of preamp, although I love the other preamp that was used in the recording. I think I wanted to approach the Neve type preamp. So yeah, I'm using the FG73, more like a Neve console kind of thing.
In the swole, it's me, but I keep it cool. I just wanna roll it shining.
And then now we are shaping it more, like shaping the tone more. So I'm doing a roll off of I'm doing a low cut of around 110, and then I'm boosting the highs. This is the time that I'm really boosting the highs around 16,000 hertz. So this basically is adding a lot of high frequencies, like a lot of treble to the vocal, and nothing more, nothing less with this one. So yeah, the vocal is supposed to be bright.
Hellfire burn within, when my China the sea. I just wanna leave, I'm Olympic rim, see my dream. When the label on my soul, Kenya me project. And I cannot give it.
And then now I'm adding a compressor. This is my first traditional compressor that is going to do more, but still no gain. So let's go.
Hellfire burn within, when my China the sea. I just wanna leave, I'm Olympic rim, see my dream. When the label on my soul, Kenya me project. And I cannot give it all.
So anything below more like minus 18, I'm cutting it off by 2:1 ratio. I think it's 2:0 ratio. A very fast attack, not very, but very like a certain amount of fast attack. Very fast release, and then there's no makeup gain. And basically, I'm using the circuit 2 in the transformer settings here. And right after the compression, now that I've had a certain tone from the compressor, I want to boost whatever tone is coming out from the compressor around the 3K region, plus more like +3, and then that's also it for this one. So we are gradually shaping the tone, right? And this is the final compressor that adds a lot of gain. So this compressor is going to do more gain and compress just a little.
I just wanna roll it shining, easy. Straight Shot Hennessy, you might be the make a freeze. Now say I'm it,
so it is this compressor that brings the vocal a little bit up front, like kind of matching the level of output from the beat. Yeah.
Hellfire burn deep, but my China out the sea. I just wanna leave, I'm Olympic rim, see my dream. When the label on my soul, and Kenya me project, and I cannot give it.
And because I've been doing a lot of low cuts and then like cutting off the bass and all of that, I'm using Reviver to revive a lot of the thickness. That's like literally creating the impression of bringing back the sub energies in his vocal, or let's say the bass in his vocal. So yeah.
Ain't no give it though, my award I won't be free. I've been facing my demons, me turn this slow.
The final processing here, because I began with the Brit N pre, I'm ending more like with the Brit N once more on this tone, just to prove consistency, just to like get a consistent type of tone. You have.
I'm a tennis swore. It's a pin but I keep it cool. I just want to roll.
And once this processing was done, I still run it through another type of DSR. This DSR is catching more of the than the sh. So yeah.
Hellfire burn deep, but my China out the sea. I just wanna leave, I'm Olympic rim, see my dream. When the label on my soul, and Kenya me project.
Now this final compressor is doing something more like a quality control type of compression. So anything else that was not being able to be compressed or catered for with compression in the previous processing, I am doing it with this compression and more like saturation. I'm using the tube kind of saturation. Now this input signal is the initial volume going to enter this threshold, whatever here, and then still going to enter the analog saturation. And I'm using a pre more than a post, and what a pre does is the initial signal is being saturated before it gets compressed. If I turn it to the post, the initial signal is not being saturated, is going to be compressed before the saturation happens. So but I like the presetting. So after the saturation is done, it compresses and adds auto gain. But I want to drive the input signal a little bit more so that it actually hits the drive of the saturation here. Yeah. And always don't forget to turn on oversampling when you are saturating. It's a very, very important step. So before and after. And one very thing about how I approach my processing is, whatever processing I'm doing, I'm not letting it affect the gain that much. When I get my gain to hit the optimal level that I'm expecting or looking for, every other processing is supposed to enhance rather than create like a perceived loudness. I really don't want you to hear any real change in volume as I'm processing, unless I'm really, really intentional about the volume change. So whatever I'm doing here is not supposed to add gain, it's supposed to add enhancement. So more like the saturation here is what I'm looking for, and then the little bit of like catching peaks is what I'm looking for. So once again, let's review.
Hellfire burn deep, but my China out the sea. I just wanna leave, I'm Olympic rim, see my dream. When the label on my soul, and Kenya me project, and I cannot give it though.
So it's more like the saturation more, and I'm really, really loving the tone that I'm getting from this saturator. Now another thing here is I'm going to do a multi-band compressor or multi-band compression here, where I'm going to like cater for, am I doing a mid and side? No, I'm just doing the stereo kind of multi-band compression. So any other thing that's all the other one band or the default or traditional compressors weren't able to catch. Now I'm going to use a multi-band compressor to split the frequencies into separate parts and then compress each and every frequency or bandwidth accordingly. So the bass, low mid, high mid, or the treble. So yeah.
Shot Hennessy.
And what this does is it keeps the vocal very consistent. When he screams, the scream does not come out louder than the bass. When he's like singing very low, the bass does not come out more than the higher frequencies. It's like a general consistent tonal shaping with this multi-band compression here. And now Xvoice Pro, what is it doing? Xvoice is basically adding reverb and then a little bit of chorus to the song. So yeah, I think I need to solo the vocal at this point so that it gets very, very head.
See, I just wanna leave, I'm Olympic rim, see my dream. Man, the label on my soul,
So dry signal,
and I cannot give it all. My award I won't be free.
and I'll need to emphasize that when the premix was sent to me, it had its own reverb. but I just wanted to give my sort of tone because I know Yaw and I know the kind of reverb he loves very much. So in order to mimic the sound and also add it to what Coco brought, because I'm pretty much aware say what Coco did, Yaw also loved it. It was just about me being the final person to oversee everything. So I just added a little bit of my processing. You can see that I'm doing a lot of darkening and then just a little bit of reverb and basically nothing more, just adding another amount of stereo widening to the vocal.
I've been facing my demons, been turning.
So yeah, that's basically it.
Been turning slow. So they see fire, man, I'm a tennis.
And then I'm using this flanger somewhere, but it's being automated. So yeah, that's why there's a read on. It's not really on the vocal.
Hellfire burn routine.
And basically that was it. And now this one was routed to full vox. So what did I do on the full vox? Full vox is more like my master vocal bus where all other vocals go through for the final processing. So what I'm doing on the full vox is I'm adding vitamin or whatever you want to call it, vitamin, and I'm boosting the highs a little bit. I'm boosting the low mids, like general little boost.
Geolly big room, see my dream. Man, the label on my soul, it can't me prodigy. And I cannot give it all. My award, I won't be free.
And once more, I'm doing a final de-essing.
So they see fire, man, I'm a tennis wall.
And then a final compression. And this time around, I'm not using any other setting. I'm using the smooth setting from the smooth algorithm. And now with this setting, I'm just doing about -1 of gain reduction. It's not even really hitting the -1. A very, very medium attack. Literally no ratio at all. And anything exceeding -15. So if you realize from the beginning till now, I'm really mixing around -15 for the vocal. And that is generally my sweet spot for mixing vocals. And once that I'm almost getting -1, I just decided to do an output signal of +1 just to compensate once again. -1 gain reduction, +1 gain increase. So just like minus plus becomes 0. So there's no real change in the volume. It's more like an enhancement. So once again, let's listen.
Hellfire burn routine, but my China at the sea. I just wanna leave, I'm Geolly big room, see my dream. Man, the label on my soul, it can't me prodigy.
So yeah,
and I cannot give it all. My award, I won't be free. I've been facing my demons, been turning slow. So they see fire, man, I'm a tennis wall.
And also now coming back to Coco's reverb. Now this is Coco's reverb for Yaw. Let me just solo only the reverb so that you can hear it. And everything else muted, just the reverb. Where is the reverb? Where's the reverb? Where's the reverb? Yeah, long reverb, so solo. So all these effects were created by Coco. I didn't want to touch it. I just love the beauty of it. Let me see if I put any processing here. There is no real processing here. So yeah. And he had other effects that he was using effects here. And oh, I also forgot to emphasize that I also did some minor pitch correction tweaks. So yeah, I was using Melodyne to cater for some of the inconsistent pitches. Yeah. So with this one,
I just wanna roll it shining easy. They make a freeze. Now say I'm it, but more benya can make that cemetery. When I put in work, so they bay I make overseas. And I can't be less, no man, I mean, you're no one to me. Straight Shot Hennessy, you might be they make a freeze. Now say I'm it, but more benya can make that cemetery. When I put in work, so they bay I make overseas. And I can't be less, no man, I mean, you're no one.
So around this part is where the flanger begins to work. So let's go back to the flanger on the lead vocal. So let's go to YT. So when it gets to that point, you see the mix start to rise and then the flanging or the flanger starts to work.
And I cannot give it all. My award, I won't be free. I've been facing my demons, been turning slow. So they see fire, man, I'm a tennis wall. It's some pin and but I keep it cool. I just wanna roll it shining easy. Straight Shot Hennessy, you might be they make a freeze. Now say I'm it, but more benya can make that cemetery. When I put in work.
So yeah, that's just about it. If you love this mix, hit me up and then send me your mix and let's work it out. Go check out Yaw Tog's Straight Shot Hennessy, mixed and mastered by yours truly, Sector Made It. I'm out of here.